Righto, guys.
I wish you didn't start like that.
No, that's all right. So, guys, I'm Declan Cleaver, joined with my co-host, Tom Holiday. And we're going to chat things about just how we've gotten to this point, Tommy.
This point in life?
This point in life where we decided to start a podcast.
What point in life do you have to hit to start a podcast? Desperate times.
Desperate times. Survive COVID. Get past all those things. Get out of the fishbowl. So I think we should take it back to who's Tom? Who is Tom Holiday?
Start on me first or you?
No, we'll start with you first.
I think I almost started on the fishbowl as well. Just a different one.
What fishbowl did you start in?
Same building.
Oh, the same building,
Yeah.
757.
Do you want to talk about how we met first?
Yeah, we'll talk about how we met.
How do we know each other besides Meredith?
Besides Meredith.
Yeah.
Or we'll say how we met in business or
Yeah.
Powerhouse Boxing.
Cheers, Hayden Drew.
So, is he a listener?
Follows me on YouTube.
Nah, so what was it? It would have been July 2008.
8.
No, we just talk about the business side.
Oh, right.
That was a joke.
Okay. Sorry, mate.
So we talk about, so it was July 2018.
Yeah.
I think I'd just gone through my most painful resignation ever. And then I rolled up to Corporate House to start my first shift. And then there was James
Welcoming you.
welcoming me. That was a big experience. I had my lunchbox and everything, my laptop ready to go. And James introduced himself. And then we went from there. And then
How did he introduce himself?
it looks like it's your first day.
Classic James.
And so, yeah, then we just moved on from there. But I think when you start a business, there's so many emotions going through your head. You don't really know what to do. You're nervous. You're scared. And then seeing you guys, I was like, what are they doing right that I'm doing wrong?
Yeah, it's not a job. No one tells you what you're meant to do.
No.
You're meant to tell yourself, and you've never had to before because every other job you've ever had, people tell you what you have to do.
But throughout your whole life, you're told what to do.
Yeah.
This is what you need to do here.
Yeah.
Even, throughout our trades, when we got our trades, there's a module for every step of the process. And that was the biggest adjustment part. There's not even, what's the perfect way to resign from a job? Like for weeks, I was going over in my head, do I tell my boss? Do I tell the boys in the office? What do I tell him? Do I lie? Do I tell him the truth? Do I tell him the exact reason why I'm leaving? Do I tell him what I'm happy with, what I'm not happy with?
Change how you resign now? Or
No.
is it the exact way you would have done it?
It's the exact way I would have done it. I just would never have built myself up that much and gone that emotional and freaked out and spoke about it for weeks on end to my family.
Yeah.
I would have just treated it like a business meeting.
Would you encourage others to quit their jobs?
Yes, it's the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah. Wouldn't go back?
Would never go back.
Wow.
Because I think once you, I always thought the other day, I wrote it down in my notes, would you rather start a business with no money or no confidence?
Oh, good question. No money.
But you had confidence?
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I started my business with no confidence and no money.
That's good. It's good.
That was, that's what I look back.
No, I think starting a business strips you of your confidence, which is a weird thing to say, but working at a company gives you confidence somehow.
You're so confident.
Someone else has given you the confidence to say, this is how we do things here. You're part of a team. We're going to look after you. We're going to show you what to do to make some money. But then you do it for yourself and you're selling your own products and it all falls back on you. It's like the rug's pulled out from underneath you. And when someone says yes, you're like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you want to give me your money? Because I don't really know what I'm doing and I feel like a fraud because I've just been working for someone else who, if there was ever a problem, there's always someone to go back to.
Yeah.
There's always someone to go, I know what to do. And they just tell you. When it's you and someone's angry at you and go, what have I paid all this money for? You then have to have that conversation with them and it falls back on you.
And they're making their decision based on what you've told them, not what you actually know.
And they start reciting it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, that was a big learning curve. So then I think what I would have been, how long was it when I was in the office till we started really chatting? Probably like a month or two?
We'd run into you in the lunchroom, but we always just assumed you were busy because you looked busy. Like you're running around always doing something.
I was trying to pay my first bill.
You would be busy. And I guess we were pretty busy then too. Like we were running around as well. But I think we had a few small chats and then that kind of gave us an opening to even understand what you did.
Yeah.
It sounds funny, but when you see someone, the first thing they say isn't what they do. It's usually just how you going, etc. And we didn't really ask what you did for a while. And then when we found out what you did, we still didn't even know what you really did. We sat in that office all day. We're like, what does this guy do? How long has he been doing this for? And I guess that's another interesting point is we were putting our experiences onto you because we were like, we know what we did, so he must be further along than we are, or he must know something we don't because we're observing what you're up to. But you're doing the same back to us, going, what the hell are these guys up to?
It's a weird dynamic.
Weird dynamic.
And to be in a 6 square meter glass office that everyone can see what you're doing.
Not much of the secret.
No. And then you've got I think I stuck a map of Australia up on the wall. I kept trying to tell myself I'm going to put this company around Australia. And then you're like, that's a big job. Can I actually do this?
You put it out into the world.
Put it out into the world. And then I had all those flyers. I was like, I'll hand out 500 flyers, no worries. Because I'll only I never thought about door knocking.
What made you ask us, though, questions? Like, what made you think we had it worked out? And what made you even listen to what we said?
Because you're a similar age.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing as me.
Yeah.
But you're in a bigger office.
But
you obviously got out of that office.
True.
You weren't in the same office as me.
But you didn't even, I remember the day, I was like, you're like, I'm really struggling. I need some sales. And I was like, you've got all those flyers. Why don't you go door knock? And you didn't even have any hesitation. You're like, does that work? And I was like, yeah, it works. And you're like, well, I might go do that then. And you weren't even like not convinced. You weren't going to like go ask another couple of opinions to other people. You just kind of like, I'll go out tomorrow. And I think you got your first client or something within like a week or two.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy because that's all you need to kind of feel like it's real. And that you can actually sell stuff is when other people go, yeah, I'll buy that off you. And you go, I can actually sell this shit. Even though you were selling it for someone else beforehand, twice as easy, maybe even 10 times easier. Doing it for yourself is just that much harder at the start.
Oh, 100%. But I went, because I door knocked when I did blended juices.
So you'd done it before?
I'd done it before. We used to dress up and go to cafes.
It was just whether it worked for the industry you're in this time.
Yeah, and my old boss would never go door knocking. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
The sales reps that we'd place in roles would go door knocking. That's what they had to do to get leads. But we would never go door knocking. It was just cold calls.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to sit in this 6 square meter office and cold call.
Yeah.
And I remember I did a lot of cold calls and got a $267 phone bill after my first month that I didn't account for. Because I called mobile numbers at 50 cents a minute, adds up. That's how many phone calls I did.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was rough.
Bill shock. First month in.
What kills businesses is things you don't expect to pay for.
I think businesses are, like getting into the start, like, you know it's going to be hard, but not really how hard, especially when you put the pressure on yourself of having those commitments to meet already. Because in your mind, you're always kind of like, well, if I get one deal a week at X, I just have to do this much to get there.
Yeah.
And when you start the reality of it, you go, well, I'm kind of fighting an uphill battle here because I'm not even getting one a week. So what am I going to have to do to catch up to even get back to where I was?
Yeah, 100%.
And then that starts to weigh on your mind that you're like, can I even do this? Or have I already made a battle too big for me to even...
And then you compare yourself to companies that have been around for 10 years and you're like,
we look at some guys down the hall in a bigger office with more staff and think they've got it all worked out.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to work it out as much as you are.
Everyone's just trying to work it out.
Everyone's trying to work it out. I think at every different level. Like you might have these moments of like success and eureka, but at some level, everyone's still trying to work it out.
And as much as you think, people really don't care about you either. You're like, am I going to look silly on this video? Are these guys going to sound stupid starting a podcast? No one really cares. Everyone's doing their own thing.
No one gives a shit.
No one cares. And that's the biggest thing I had to get over because I always cared what people think, what people's reactions were. Well, I look silly. I'm not getting any views. All that negative chat you put through your head is the biggest waste of time.
I think that's an interesting point that we look for the answer in other people. And I think we've all done it. At some stage in our life, we thought someone who looked like they had more money than us on paper, looked like they had more fun than us, had the answers. But really, we always knew deep down what we had to do. But when you see it like looks like someone's done it easier, you want to know their secret or what they've done.
Yeah.
But that's only applicable to them because of their upbringing, who they know, the connections they have. So trying to kind of put that into your life is just like not possible. And chasing it is like chasing someone else's dream, basically. Yeah,
100%. And then how did you, I suppose, from going from that little office, 6 square meters, to then having a team of 10, what was that journey like?
Well, we always thought that, and this is where I've heard a quote and it makes me laugh, but we always thought that having a bigger office and having more people was impressive. But I heard a saying that it only impresses your mum and your friends. And I've never heard anything truer because the stress of trying to manage 10 people and a huge office isn't fun, especially when you haven't built a business properly from the ground up, where you don't understand why your costs are that high. You don't understand why you have all these people doing all these different jobs. It is just impressive to people on the outside. And then you're kind of projecting that level of success to them, which is making them question what they're doing. But in reality, you don't know what you're doing either, which is a terrifying thought. But yeah, like it was a gradual thing, but I think we're more excited by the constant growth and the numbers going up, but at the same time it was destined to hit a point where it was going to stop, and that's where it gets really hard, because at the end of the day you're running a business, and when you got all these people and you're not making a whole lot of money and you're dealing with all the stress, it becomes not fun. The growth stops. You have to work harder just to get the same result back. That's not sustainable. And I guess anyone that speaks to me about business now, the only advice I try to give is make sure you do it the right way from the start, and that is to not spend more than you have, to not try and impress or show off to other people in business, because at the end of the day they probably don't really care. And then you just end up in a situation where you owe all this money, or you've leveraged yourself into a situation and you're there, for example, cutting hair at $50 an hour, but then $49 of that goes back to paying all your bills and your rent and everything that's left, and you've got $1 out of each haircut. That then makes the haircut not fun, even if it's a passion of yours, because you're not making any money.
But apparently that's how most businesses operate, small business.
For sure. And I think we all fall into the trap. I did as well. I totally thought that more people and more staff was just going to equal more money and more for me.
It does if it's run well.
It does if it's run well, but it wasn't run well, because I was constantly chasing the next thing I had to put in the business to try and get more out of it. But I wasn't really ever stopping to go, why are we doing all this, and why do we have all these people? Like, what is their role here? How do they make me money? How does this make money?
Yep. And then what point was it like? Forgot that question.
What point was?
Yeah, what point did it get to when things changed?
Too overwhelming or too?
Yeah, did you ever show up to work and go, I don't want to be here?
No, I never showed up and was like...
I've never thought that, eh?
No, neither. I've never showed up and be like, I don't want to be here, and I'd be anywhere else. It's always like, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. But I think the realization for us was we've been running off maybe endorphins for 3 years now. And when we sat down with our accountant and just started having an honest conversation, and he's kind of going, geez, you've got a lot of people for the size of your business, and geez, your rent's quite expensive, how many people you have and your costs. And he started asking these questions, and then it kind of, something switched on the side of us, and we go, well, how much should we have, and how much should that cost, and how much should we be putting away? And when those questions started to lead to hesitation from him, we kind of realized that we were in a bit of a mess of a situation, that his advice was almost like he couldn't have the hard conversation with us. And being business owners who wanted just to get the answer, it kind of made us concerned that we'd probably gone down the garden path ourselves, and he didn't even know how to advise us to get out of it. And once we hit that point, that's when we started having the hard conversations of, do we really need all these staff? Do we really need all these expenses? What are we trying to do here at the end of the day? Are we trying to build a business, or are we trying to just play this game and have all these people running around but not making any actual money?
Yep.
And we're still delivering things for our clients, but it was becoming a charity at the end of the day. And that wasn't why I got into business, or so I thought. And then it made it when we found out these facts about the business. It then suddenly started to feel not fun. And then started to feel like it was a chore. And it went from this really exciting thing to, why do I work all these hours? Why do I look after all these people? And then there's not really anything for me at the end of the day left. And I don't feel like I'm carrying energy over the next day. I'm waking up and I'm already tired.
Yeah. And then you still have to. And what about when it came to building the brand?
Yeah.
Even when you first start, you don't even know what it's meant to be.
No, like people ask what you do, and you don't know. You don't know how to answer. You go, I do a bit of this and a bit of that, and you just feel like a fake. Whereas when you work for someone, what do you do? I'm a real estate agent. This is what I do, and I'm the best at it. Yeah. But when you work for yourself, you're like, help people with this, and sometimes they need a bit of branding and a website, and that's what I do. And do you need it?
But it's definitely a journey to go on. I think everyone in the world should experience what it's like to be self-employed at one stage.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Like, it probably would teach you some good skills, but I don't think it's for everyone. That's a fact. But
I think people realize that straight away, and then they'd have more respect for the people that do it.
For sure. Like gives them maybe insights you couldn't get anywhere else.
You can't.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there that you can learn in a book. You can't learn about consistency. You can't learn about leadership, dedication, being determined.
Yeah.
Having all your rules, standards. You have to follow them every day. And if you don't, it shows up real quick. Like you can be faking it, lying to yourself, sitting down in the coffee shop on your laptop, you got your ABN, sipping lattes. Life's great. And then, a few bad months.
Yeah, and back to where you started. It's true though. I remember even in my old job.
But because you hadn't done enough, you hadn't been able to learn.
Yes.
So you're going to start again.
Yes.
But you haven't learnt the lessons. It's all right to start again if you've learnt lessons. But if you're starting again, you haven't learnt those lessons.
Yeah.
Then what's the point of starting again?
You haven't gone on long enough to get the lessons you need to learn.
And I think a lot of people think it's just going to happen for them. When you start out in business, you're like, yeah, it'll happen.
It depends what you want though. Some people are asking different things of the world.
Mm.
And I can also appreciate that. Not everyone wants to divide and conquer. Some just want to have a life where they support themselves and don't have to answer to someone.
Yeah, 100%. But you're always answering to someone, like
for sure,
your clients, staff,
your wife, girlfriend, kids.
I think when you get into business, I went from a very aggressive approach, like, we're going to take over the world. The world's against me.
That's when I met you.
Yeah. Now I've just conquered the world. But I think everyone just wants to be happy.
I think at the end of the day, like that is the thing. Everyone wants to be happy.
That's why you get self-employed, because you think you can make yourself more money. You can work on your own clock, and then you realize you can't. So then you employ staff that you think can make you more money, and then you don't have to do those tasks as much. And if you don't, and then if you just want to be happy. I think that's everyone's token. Everyone just wants to be happy and make life easier on themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's realistically all it is. Would you agree, Tom?
I don't know. Like, definitely everyone wants to be happy, but people are getting there in their own way, I guess. And that's, I think, something interesting to like observe in the world at the moment is some people are getting happy at the destruction of other people's happiness, if that makes sense. Like I think there's a huge cultural shift in some of these traditional sales jobs even. Like I think you and I'd agree that our approach is different to the generation before.
How so?
I guess Wolf of Wall Street style is kind of fading out to some degree.
Snake oil salesman trying to groom the client and BS them and
manipulation, that kind of stuff. Yep. Whereas we're trying to move more towards my name is the business. I'm accountable for all the work that's done. I want to do the best work possible so the client's happy.
If you've got a problem, I'll pick up the phone right now.
Exactly. And when you approach these new clients that you're trying to pitch and sell to, you're selling with the intention that you'd be in the best spot if you're with me, but I promise to take the best care of you so that you get the best results out of the services I provide that you're either using somewhere else or you didn't know you needed yet because you were lacking that service. Whereas I think this Wolf of Wall Street style churn and burn, I got my sales numbers, I don't really care about the client at the end of the day, will eventually fade out as it's not a lasting model, but it still exists because it does to some degree work. Some people need to hear the quick results. They need to hear that the salesperson's going to help them out and give them everything they've ever wanted. And there'll always be some degree of that. But I think we are seeing a huge shift where your business and my business have kind of moved away from that. And we do care about our brand and our names. Online matters now. You don't want your name smeared everywhere with bad reviews. You don't want people to look up who you are and go, geez, you must run a shit business because look at all these things people say about you. That's important now. So there's this public shame aspect that keeps people accountable.
I think it's improved business.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
And everything's so honest these days. It
has to be. Even this podcast. If it felt like we were trying to have this conversation and then the end of it, buy Declan and I's course because we're going to show you how to be genuine in business, then there is an underlying essence of non-genuineness that people will pick up on.
And even in like recruitment, I've had some frank discussions with clients, being brutally honest. And I think because everyone's waiting for that next paycheck from their client, they're only going to tell them 90% of the truth.
And I think that, and that's actually a funny point. I think in any business at the start, some level, this is my personal opinion, some level of that is okay because you kind of have to at the start. Like I've had my back up against the wall and I've had to get a deal across the line, but I've done every single thing I could to over impress that client and over deliver. But whether I knew I could meet the expectations of everything they asked for, I didn't really know, but God, I was going to give it a shot and try because if I didn't get that bill paid, then I probably still wouldn't be here. But as you progress and time goes along, I think you finally do hit a point where you can start saying no to clients you don't think are a good fit or you don't think you're going to be able to help. You have people that want to give you a bunch of money to do a service.
And that is the weirdest thing ever, is telling someone no in business. You got a new client, they want to work with you, and then for the first time, because you go down the rabbit hole with a few clients, you're like, this isn't really work. This isn't what I thought it would be. It ends up being a lot more work than what you're worth. And then it just ends up bad. And then every time a situation slowly starts going down that path, just to snip it off straight away.
Exactly. And you pick it up.
And you get better.
You feel it. The questions, this better work. It's never worked for me before. Every time I work with someone, I've never had a good experience. So how are you going to be different? It's those tells that you say, maybe it's you that's the problem, not the people you've worked with.
And then you're telling people that are years into business that they're the problem.
Yeah.
I just try and get out of my comfort zone as much as possible.
Well, I think I've realized when I've had the best success in business, it's when I've removed all these obstacles and just been in that clear headspace where I don't have a bunch of client problems. I don't have people who are expecting or have unrealistic expectations of what I should be doing for them for the money they're paying. And you have clients that, I guess it turns, and I wish these were all my clients, but they're not, but the appreciation of what you do and the understanding of what pay you offer, but they don't feel a need to call you every day or email you every day. They just have a really strong working relationship that's built on trust, and they come to you as the expert. They're not saying, I pay you, so I tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You kind of get away from those clients.
It's mutually beneficial.
Mutually beneficial. And you can get to that place, but I think at the start, to get the experience, you will sit down with the person and you go, God, they're going to be a rough client, but God, I can't wait to get that invoice paid, because you just need someone to work with.
Yeah.
And they teach you the most because they're the hardest people to deal with.
But I think, because recruitment, it's sort of the way it is. Our industries are two polar opposites in the markets we deal with, and we're dealing with major corporations that obviously can afford fees. Recruitment's not out of the. It's normal. It's normal. It's common practice. They've got budgets, and it just rolls on that way. But then, what I've learned talking about your business, some of your clients are smaller, so therefore, that can even create more problems.
I think it comes back to abundance. If someone's giving me, let's say, 10% of their income to their business for a project of ours, that's a lot of their money, and they need to pay a close attention to that. Whereas a corporation like the ones you're dealing with, they can afford maybe things to not work out, but because they can afford it to not work out, they give it that freedom it needs to.
And then it does work out.
Exactly. And you can't tell people to kind of be frugal with it, or not frugal with their money when they're handing over large amounts of money, because it is a large amount of money to them, and they really do need it to work out because they need the results or the expectation to be met for what they're paying for. They can't just be handing money over and then getting basically fucked over every time, because they're not going to be in business very long.
Yeah.
But coming with that approach that you want to hire a supplier or hire someone to do the best job, and then giving them that freedom to fail, but trying to get a good sense of character. Are they going to call you back? Are they going to do the right thing by you? And allowing them their professionalism to kind of give input on your project.
Mm. But even the rate in which your role changes from being an employee to an employer, the different conversations you can have with business owners.
Yeah.
I think that's been an amazing experience for me.
It is strange. It goes deep.
Yeah. And the camaraderie you create with your clients, it's deeper relationships. It's for long term. Yeah, I think it's just a whole different perspective.
Yeah. And
whenever you appreciate service more so than ever.
When someone else offers a good service.
Yeah.
And you go, how do they do that?
Yeah.
How do they give such a good experience? And the whole time I went through it was such a dream.
Yeah.
And then it becomes less about the cost. You kind of go, I know what I paid, but God, that was a good service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even I've gotten to become a worse negotiator since being in business.
Really?
Yeah, because obviously some things, but I'm not going to, people this is our price. I'm sometimes I wonder how they came to that price, but I don't really tell them.
I agree. Actually, funnily enough, yeah, when I've become
because the clients that negotiate hard
with
usually
us
end up not going well.
And you don't want to be that client.
guy.
It is funny. No, you're probably right. I almost, back in the day, I think it was big to negotiate, and if you didn't negotiate, you were seen as silly and foolish. Yep. But when someone gives me that price, I want them to do the best job possible, and if they think that's the price they need to do the job at, then I'll pay that. And I do find that I usually have a really good working relationship, and I can ask maybe those little extra things at the end that they may have billed another client that fought them tooth and nail just to get a couple of dollars off.
Yeah. And then you do want to look at long term. I think so many people get into business to think there's no quick bucks.
There really is.
Like us starting this podcast, it's going to be a grind. Like I think it'll be a moment when if we get our first listener as a stranger, we'll be like, yes.
And if they reference something 30 minutes in and you go, you listened for 30 minutes?
Yeah, this is real.
You got to this part and then reference this to Declan on LinkedIn?
So yeah, that would just be amazing. It's like getting your first client. I think that's why it's so important for us to do this, because we need that new start again.
Well, you and I chat a lot as is, but I think this will be a different medium to chat, and also probably hold us more accountable, because if either one of us tries to bullshit in this setting, I think we're probably going to call it out pretty quick. And then having the listeners, if you will, also following along creates a very interesting medium where, like I know podcasting is not new, but it really does make sense for these long form conversations. And especially when we get guests on, if we can create a space where we can speak to these people that we know in business that we think people could learn so much from. Like, I consider myself just an idiot at the end of the day who's just trying to work it out. But some of the people I've met really have figured some stuff out. They're the calmest people you know. They never have to brag about their wealth. They never have to tell you about how they've done it. You can just kind of sense their calmness and what they've accomplished. And you can see it. You walk into their warehouse and it's one of 10 and you just go, oh my God, this guy has built this business from absolutely nothing, from his underground garage to this huge national company.
Yeah.
And they're usually the quietest guys. They don't need to tell you about what they did in the weekend or all the money they spent. They're just calm and carry a big stick.
No, that's what I'm excited about. And you never know where this can go. Like, I didn't know the opportunities from starting a recruitment agency in a 6 square meter office, where it would take me.
Yeah. Well,
I had no idea.
The fact you left work at 3 today to go film a bloody podcast. You decided that was a good use of your time.
I hope it is. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting experience.
What a time to be alive, though.
What a time to be alive, surviving the coronavirus.
New office, new car, new
But if the
podcast.
coronavirus is as bad as business gets, business is never really going to get that bad.
No, like we've entered in at a good time. If we can survive this, imagine the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And for Brisbane as well. Like, I know a lot of stuff is on hold, but I really think Brisbane could be world leader in like way of life.
Oh, 100%.
Raise your kids here.
Raise your kids. Already am. 2 kids.
Travel around the world.
Depends who you talk to. There could be another one.
Hey, D.
But yeah, that'll be the main focus. But I don't want this all to be about business.
Yeah, same.
So, besides sitting around coffee shops, reading the AFR, what else is there about Tommy that you like doing? Or do you feel like you were doing things that you enjoyed, and then when you start a business, those things had to get cut back?
No, at the start for sure. I think that's natural. Like, you've heard I Uber drove every weekend story a million times, but it was a sacrifice that I knew I was like trading the opportunities to either go out or go to parties. But I always hear about people complaining about that, saying I had to sacrifice all these things. But even at the time, I remember thinking back and saying, don't forget this thought. It's exactly what I wanted to do at the time. Like, if I had the option to not Uber drive and go to a party, if I was at the party, I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be Uber driving and trying to pay my wage. So I remember holding on to that thought dearly, being like, all the people that talked about how they never took a holiday, they had to work every weekend. It was definitely a choice. It was a very conscious choice that it's exactly how I decided to spend my time. And then now that you've kind of had the compounding effect of a business, it allows you more free time to kind of think and have your thoughts. You realize why you did it, and it kind of makes sense in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I remember thinking back at the time, I don't feel like I missed out per se.
No, me either. You feel like they're missing out.
Yeah. And then you kind of sound cuckoo if you try to convince people otherwise. But in a way it can, because if you're year 4 in business and you're speaking to someone that's just started and you're telling them how good it's going to be, it's a very long way for them to go to really reach that point. So you kind of are just telling them you're winning lottery numbers.
Yeah, true. And that doesn't work for anyone.
No.
But I suppose with I just don't want to make this all about business. What else can we talk about?
Well, we both don't really have any interests.
Yeah, you sit around at cafes lying to yourself reading the AFR.
We run Mount Cootha once a week, but that's about it. But besides that, yeah. I guess, where do you think things are heading? Not even business, just in the world. Like, where are we heading now since we've had like this pandemic and we've had all these political changes? Like, do you see a big change coming, or is this going to be more of the same?
I don't know. I reckon we'll just go back to doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
And 2020 will just be a distant memory. They'll be like, oh, that was a hectic year. But we're still in our offices. We're still working the same jobs. Like, what can really change? Nothing's changed in our life. I don't see anything changing that soon. Like, yeah, a few people are going to work from home. What can actually change? Yeah, some industries this may be the part where newspapers and all that fall apart and everything's solely digital. Electricity may get cheaper. Fuel, people, I think it's just been a chance. Everything that people were talking about last year, we need renewables.
Yep.
We need to be working from home. We need more responsibility from our bosses, all those things.
Yeah.
And now this is given a chance for all those things to take in place. It may have sped up the process.
Yeah.
But I don't think life's really going to be that dramatic.
What about if Australia kind of gets cut off more from the world as far as China goes? Do you think our way of life would change? Like, we'd have to tighten our belts up more? Like, maybe you and I aren't as affected.
You think wages would drop to make it more otherwise stuff's going to get really expensive. That's why we go to China, to find somewhere cheap.
Correct,
or Africa, Indonesia, to get like clothes. A lot of furniture and clothes come from Indonesia.
But do you think we could handle a change in our way of life?
No.
To how well we've had it?
No way.
We've been a very rich company from all our exports.
Yeah.
So
I don't think people would want to take a pay cut to then bring manufacturing in-house. No one would want to pay the extra cost to manufacture in-house. Otherwise, we'd still have cars here.
Yeah. Well, something closer to you then maybe is, what do you think of the youth of today? Like, do you think they're any softer, any tougher? Like,
I think it's a big sob story.
Yeah.
Like, everyone reckons they had it hard.
Yeah.
When I resigned, 2 weeks before I resigned, I found out we were having a baby along the way.
Yeah.
Both my parents were going through cancer at the time.
Yep.
Dad passed away a year before I started.
Yep.
Like, to me, like, that's as hard as life gets.
Yeah.
And then you start a business with no money.
Yep.
And living at home with your mum again and your sister and stepson and your partner. I'm like, oh, that's so rough.
Yeah.
But you look at the grand scheme of things, like, it's not really that bad.
Yep.
So, and to say youth are soft, or because we got the same thing, like the baby boomers, like we're 27 now, the baby boomers saying we didn't work. We had an article in the paper, a 3-story paper, saying Gen Y strikes back because we work hard.
Yep.
And then we say that about the next generation.
Exactly. I think it's spot on. Yeah.
It's just rubbish.
Yeah.
I think there's people that work hard and people that don't. There's 40 and 50-year-olds who've been on the dole their whole life, and there's 40 and 50-year-olds who have worked super hard and deserve everything they have.
Yeah.
I think it's the same amount of people every year, but every generation goes, oh, no one had it as hard as me.
Do you think people are born with it, or it's something they earn through their life experience?
What do you mean?
As in, are you born Michael Jordan, or do you become Michael Jordan?
You become Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Watch the doco and you'd have that same answer.
Haven't seen it yet.
No, I think it you look back and it's like all these different things make you Michael Jordan. Like him getting cut.
Yes.
He was going down a bad road, and then his dad said, mate, it's sport or nothing.
Yeah.
So he flicked that switch.
Yes.
So no one's born with anything.
No.
We're all born with nothing.
Yeah. And
we all get then put down that path. Like, why, like, and things that happen in your life, things that make you interest. Like, I remember being a tradesman. I became a tradesman, but I never worked as a tradesman. I never worked as an apprentice.
Yep.
And I hated every day because people were negative, they drowned me out. I was getting paid out all the time with the food I eat, the type of training I did. And I was just like so out of it. I wouldn't get on the piss with the boys in the afternoon because I knew I was going to gym. Just little things like that, I was the oddball in the group.
Do you remember that feeling of when you woke up for work?
Yeah, I'd just be like, oh, I did not want to go, Dad. And we'd get down and we'd both start work at 6 a.m. because he worked at the Queensland
both
newspapers.
Start at the same time.
Both start at the same
there's
time.
No way
so
you
we'd
were
both get
in.
up at 4:30.
Oh.
I never, much as I complain about things, I never deviate away from doing it.
Yep.
So Dad's like, you do it. And I was always up at 4:30. He'd never have to come and wake me up. He'd never have to, drive me or do anything like that.
Yeah.
I was always up.
Yeah.
I complained the whole time,
but
I was there.
Yeah.
Always shoveling, but man, this hole is hard to dig. So that was, so we'd get up at 4:30 every day, have a chat, he'd have his coffee, and I did not want to go today. He's like, you're going, so stop telling me that. So I just wouldn't tell him. I'd just tell myself.
And do you reckon, like, looking back, it was probably like an experience you needed, or would you change things? Would you have dropped it out a bit earlier, or? Yeah,
I look at two ways. I finished.
Yeah.
So now I know I can, and it's just like you take the positives from everything. You go, well, if I can finish that, what else can I finish?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I can do that in 4 years, what else can I do in 4 years?
And if that's the hardest it's going to be, what else can I do?
Yeah. So then you look at other people who haven't finished anything, and they really do jump from job to job.
Yeah. Because they're looking for the next easy way out, maybe the next answer.
Yeah. And if I would have gone and started a PT course, I probably would have given up on that. Would have gone and done car sales. Would have done what I really wanted to do. and then finished none of them, or even started a new apprenticeship, realised I didn't like it. And then before you know it, the 4 years are gone by and you're like, should have just stuck with what I was doing.
Yeah.
So then that's why I always, the story I tell myself now is, well, you're in year 2 of your business apprenticeship.
Yep.
It takes 4 years to become a tradesman in a job.
Qualified. Yeah.
Qualified tradesman.
Yep.
And that's with a manual, modules and professional people that have been in the industry for years guiding you every step of the way.
Yeah.
And you're trying to tell me that you can build a business. Obviously, there's unicorns out there. I'm no unicorn.
No, neither.
But so it's going to take 4 years to slowly get anywhere near what you do. And that's if you do repetitions. That's if you stick to the game plan. That's if you see everything out.
Yep.
All those times when you're not actually working, lying to yourself, add that on.
Yeah. I think my personal experience of having dropped out of school early and scaring the hell out of my mother in year 10, and then being forced to get a labouring job at AWX, which funnily enough is now a client of ours, which is a really weird experience to meet the CEO of a company that you once used to do labouring work for and hang out with some really tough dudes. Like just being a 16-year-old and hanging out with like some seriously tough dudes and the shit they used to get up to, you look back and you're kind of like, whoa, like I could have gone down a dark path, or I could have hung out with some of the wrong people, or the kind of people that, not that there's anything wrong with them, but it's not the life I wanted for me per se. And having that realization when I first dropped out of school and did my first day of labouring, I remember saying to myself, I was like, I've made a really big mistake and I'm in for a really long haul here of having to kind of repair or make up for that mistake. And I remember doing labouring and I just looked around and looked at the carpenters and thought, they look like they've got it good. Everyone respects them. They're the bosses on the site. They're usually the smart ones. I want to be one of them.
Yep.
So then I started to kind of work towards that, do free work with different companies and try and get an apprenticeship, and then finally getting an apprenticeship and then doing one, and then even jumping around with different bosses while in the apprenticeship to try and get into nicer work, better homes. And then in that experience, having done the apprenticeship, if you will, and realizing, well, if I can be a labourer and I can be a carpenter, what else could I do? And just having other influences in my life, and then meeting James, who was in sales, and he's telling me how easy his job is. I'm like, does it get easier? I want to go do another easy job. But turns out it's harder. It's a different kind of hard. But you can look back on the apprenticeship and be like, it'll never be as hard as that though. It's a different kind of hard. Like you may come home from work physically exhausted, but you don't have the mental energy to do anything else. So you almost get trapped into this job of the 12 hours a day. But it was that progression I needed. And I think at every point
but in sales, you're mentally drained. What's worse, being physically or mentally? When I started in sales, being mentally drained was just because you can't even sleep.
I think mentally drained, you also lose empathy for other people.
Yeah.
When you're so mentally drained that you can't even care for yourself. Like you just flop onto the couch, have your dinner, and then roll into bed. Mentally for me, huge. Physical, you can kind of get a tolerance to it to some degree, depending how hard the job is. But yeah, I think it was like a necessary path, and I don't think I'd change anything along the way because I had to go through it to kind of appreciate what I got.
But even in being in recruitment, I find myself doing a lot of industrial sales positions, engineering, oil and gas, mining jobs. Yeah. And you drop in the, I'm a Boilermaker by trade. Yeah. And then that's a lead in. And you got that level of respect.
Do they hate it?
They love it.
I know they love it. And it sounds funny, but
when one of my clients said I look like a receptionist.
You kind of do. I think it is a funny point. Like, I do get the comment of some of our clients, and I think having done that trade and having the respect for people who are in a trade or having to do these very manual jobs is some people who are in them don't want to be there, but they have to do the job because it's just where they're at. And I can kind of respect that it gives you this appreciation for people in all different ranges of jobs, because you and I personally have both been there. And I think we both get labelled quite a lot. That easy for you guys to say because we wear a nice, you're in an office, you're wearing a nice button-up shirt.
We are the office guys.
And now we make it look like this has been us forever, but it's not the case. We both, I'm assuming you got really dirty hands at work, and you'd go home and you'd have, whether it's Sikaflex or oil over your hands, and everyone would just be like, why are your hands so dirty? Or you never had any nice clothes to wear because you'd always get them dirty, or whatever it may be. And or that feeling of being in high vis and rocking up to somewhere nice and feeling like an outcast. I remember those feelings, and I try my hardest to make people feel welcome when they're feeling like they're in one of those situations, because you're not looking down on them, but you just realize that society kind of does the people who never had to experience that.
But I don't understand what gives anyone the permission to look down on someone else.
Just their own reference experience. If you're born into, and this is me generalizing, a family of lawyers, and they have very high expectations of their kids, they're gonna kind of look down on people, but I don't really understand why, and I actually can't work it out because
I really don't get it.
neither.
Because what happens if that person solely loved their job? Like they loved their job so much. Like people look down on recruiters heaps. Like, oh, you guys are scumbags. You guys screw people. You guys waste everyone's time.
Yeah.
You're full of it. You know, there's heaps of bad stigmas around. I think there's bad stigmas around every single job.
Some more than others, but for sure.
So, like I cop it a lot. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I hate being a recruiter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's people's view on you.
Yeah.
And you can do the right thing by everyone, but still have that stigma. You're a used car salesman. Like I've sold cars. I've done that.
Yep.
And it's, but you know, deep down, you do the right thing by everyone.
Yeah.
So I don't know why this stigma comes out.
But maybe this is why we jump around jobs so much, because the pressure of society almost to, or maybe they're to a degree, like. And
you're constantly getting told you're broken. You know what I mean? You're always told you're broken. It's like, you know, you can always be fitter. It's like, you know, eat junk food, get comfort food.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you're fat and overweight, you're going to have these problems. You need to take these shakes. You need to do this. You need to, if you start a business, you need to do this course. Yeah. If you're into this certain subject and you need to have this, like we're layered with so many things we so-called need. And this coronavirus is teaching we need none of it.
Need none of it, yeah.
No, need nothing.
Like if you're sitting by yourself, are you happy? And if the answer is no, then maybe there's some work to do. And we've all got work to do. But it really isn't an external thing. And even the coronavirus was like a wake-up call for me that I've just been hoarding physical possessions.
Yeah, like 16 pairs of RM boots. You finally got rid of them.
But it's funny because it's like being a tradie and having so little, and the desire to try and prove to other people I've made it now, whatever that is, it's in us to a degree. I
never had that, hey.
Really?
No. I never got myself into some crazy car loan to impress people.
Yeah.
I never... that was probably a period when I was 19 and I went through, did network marketing. Yeah. And that's where I got an ego and I was like, if you go out, you're wasting your life. Like, don't go out on the piss. Yeah. And then it lasted about 12 months and got reality checked, slapped in the face by a few of the boys.
Oh, your mates pulled you up?
Yeah. They're like, you're a wanker.
Really?
Yeah. Like stop going down that. Like, even on their post, like, look at this idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just snapped out of that.
Thank God for them.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a few situations like that, and then after that, I never cared what, but then getting into business, I was like, no, then it just brought it out of me again.
Yeah.
I was just comparing myself to everyone.
Yeah.
And trying to make out like, I never said I was doing better than what you are, but you're just trying to market and sell yourself. And then people who are in business, they respect you no matter where you're at because you're in business.
As long as you're giving it a go.
Yeah. Yeah. Then people who aren't in business, they're shitting on you the whole time. Like I reckon I could line up a few people.
I have a different perspective. I think they just ask the wrong questions or they don't know how to relate. Yeah, it's not relatable. It's like you're an Olympic diver and you're telling them how to do
and we're trying to perfect
landing. Yeah. And you're trying to ask them, when you jump off the thing, what are you thinking about? Like it's an irrelevant question, but it's just a different skill set, I guess. And if you haven't done it before, it's really hard to...
That's like anything.
Yeah.
So then you can't be angry at them.
No. And it's probably a skill set for us to learn on, like to practice on how to bring the conversation down to a normal level, because sometimes we sound really arrogant when we're telling them about our business unintentionally. Like, oh, woo, you got some stuff and people have to do what you say. Good on you. But they might be doing their own stuff in their own life and it might not interest them like business interests us.
Yeah, true. And yeah, 100%. I totally agree.
Why did we call it the Office Guys?
The Office Guys, because that's who we are.
We are Office Guys.
I can't wait for these logos to come out.
I do love being outside though. Will it be on this this cover?
Hey?
It'll probably be on this cover.
Yeah, it'll be on this cover when we launch it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be
who's going to be our first guest? You're going to put it out into the world?
Put it out into the world. We get the big fish.
Universal Attraction or whatever it's called.
Yep. Jordan Greaves.
Heard it here first.
Brisbane's unicorn. Let's get him on.
Brisbane's one and only unicorn.
Anyone knows Jordan and they've listened to this podcast
this far
and knows him.
I want to know so many things about that man.
I just can't even fathom it.
Yeah. Trying to do...
I've tried what I've tried to do.
I've tried what I've tried to do and don't have much to show for it. So, and I know what I had to do to do that. So I'd love to know where he got. Fuck, what does he know?
Yeah, it blows
He's got the secrets.
I don't know. I think he just worked harder and stayed consistent more.
Oh, I wish it was that easy. I hope that's the answer. That's what I want to hear.
Genetically, he's different. So
he's a smart dude. Yeah.
That would be good. And what's the purpose of your reasoning to do this podcast?
I don't know. I think I have a lot to say, and I haven't found a way to share it because I've always observed other businesses, how they promote themselves, or I've observed other people about how I perceive their content. And video, to me, shooting a video of myself and talking about web development, I just feel like wouldn't come across how I'd want it to or need it to without a whole lot of editing or not being genuine, if that makes sense.
Not really.
Not really, yeah. Whereas a podcast, I feel like I can have no ulterior motives to the podcast. No one can buy me. I can say whatever I want about business and about my life and about my personal opinions, and it's in this like unfiltered way, which for me I'm super excited about.
And it gives you the time.
Gives me the time
Like
to
you're not going
explain
to
a
record a
point.
1 hour video. You want to record stuff that's going to get views. That's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
But if you record something for an hour, there's going to be points in there that no one cares about.
No, 100%. But I don't know. I just haven't felt comfortable personally about doing or shooting videos about my business, and maybe because I know too much about the business that I worry that what if they see this about our process, or what if they think about this about us, and it's made me self-conscious. Whereas a podcast, I can kind of just talk freely, if you will, in long format, and maybe clarify some of my points of view about things.
That lie you tell yourself.
Yeah,
that's what I like, because I did it from the start. In that little office, I shot a video saying this is what we're going to do, and then it doesn't matter what you've done,
right? Because
you're like, yeah, it's always been like this.
Yeah, and you've always pushed me to do videos, but then now it felt like I'd built something at speed. How do you then suddenly jump in? But I don't know, a podcast just makes sense. I'm really enjoying this format. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Nice, that'll be good. Who's your favourite guest you want to get on first?
You already said him, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went to the top.
Oh, okay.
Second would be Georgia from Paw.
From Paw Cafe.
Yeah.
Those donuts on the weekend, they were a gem.
How does she do it?
I don't get it.
Pivoting her business in the most drastic time, in the shortest time frame I've ever seen. And I don't think she took a day off. Every time I went to the cafe, she was there working, didn't complain, always had a good attitude.
Yep.
In a business, and this is like a crazy perspective, we both had rough Aprils, if you will. I'm sure a lot of businesses did. But to be told legally by the government you can't operate your business,
that's what baffles me.
How did she do that?
The GFC, at least you could stay open and market till the cows come home.
Yes.
But this is like you're not allowed to
physically be open. You can market, but no one can buy your stuff.
Yep.
How she got through that and pivoted, like, she's got my respect. I know what stresses I've been through, and they're nothing in comparison. So, tops to her.
Yeah, I think it's all about mental. Like business is all, or life, it's all in your own head.
Yeah.
Like you can I built myself up. I had to follow up with a client, and I just had in my head, like, the candidate said everything was great. I had in my head that it wasn't.
Yep.
And I kept putting off the call, called him, everything was fine.
Happy, yeah.
But I could have found that out 3 days and had a good thing happen.
Yeah.
But I waited and kept trying to tell myself some lie that it's not going to be good.
What's one thing about you think our listeners wouldn't either know or wouldn't believe?
If I was to put it down to one thing, it was probably 7 years under contract with Vivian's Model Management.
So actively still under contract?
No, I've retired.
When did it expire?
Retired.
When was your last paycheck?
My last paycheck. Just because you're on contract doesn't mean you get paid. No, just at the start of the year. Didn't renew it this year.
I think that wouldn't be a surprise to the client that called you a receptionist lookalike. I think he was onto something.
So those days are done. Hashtag Vibs.
Yeah.
No, that was
they're still getting their money's worth out of you.
It was a good experience.
Yeah.
Just out of your comfort zone again.
How did you get into that?
One of my mum's friends.
Yeah. Just kept harping on about you.
I literally just met her once. She
Yeah.
goes, "You'd be great." She's a photographer.
She worked there?
No, she was just a photographer.
Yeah.
So they're very much like a recruitment agency.
I've never talked to you about this, by the way.
There's a few bookers.
This is one of those like spots I've known about. But
this is like taboo.
Yeah,
I hate talking about this stuff.
We'll just get out of the way then. We'll never have to come back to it.
Get it all done before Jordan comes on. So I was 19. Even my girlfriend at the time was laughing and paying me out.
Still push through.
Yeah, still push through. And then, but I've got some of my best mates come from that.
Yeah.
So, my mum's friend was a photographer and said, "Let's go and shoot some stuff." I'm like, "Oh, all right." So it was just when Instagram was coming online.
Yep.
And then, Instagram had probably been out for a little bit, but it was just starting to get popular. And then I was like, okay. So we went to the Ascot railway station. That's pretty much no trains really run through there. And we did a photo shoot there. And then she put it to 3 agencies.
Yep.
And Viz were the only one that picked it up. So I didn't really have many options.
Yep.
But went in. And then they said, I got signed up on the day, and one of my best mates, he actually got signed up on the same day.
Wow.
And he wasn't my best mate at the time, but, we've been mates for 8 years now.
Yeah.
Went groomsman at his wedding.
Yeah.
His child's born a day after me. So, and he lives at the sunny coast, James.
So are you managing your apprenticeship and this at the same time?
This is very ad hoc.
Yeah.
So if you get called, if you get a job a month,
you're killing it.
It's not. I wasn't exactly going to quit my job and travel the world being a model.
Yeah.
I'm not that good looking.
Not like a business. Can't just.
Yeah.
You got to wait for the call.
I thought it was. I said, well, should I tell my boss if we have to go to London or something? They're like, it doesn't really work that way.
Just in case.
And I reckon I could probably name 10 jobs in 7 years.
Yep.
So it's not this amazing grand thing that now signed up to an agency and away you go.
At least you've been through it.
Been through it. Yep. Learned a lot. Some photos I wish never got taken were taken.
They exist. They're somewhere, ladies and gentlemen. Look
makeup on and everything. It's pretty embarrassing. But, it's just something you do, and it's another feather in your bow.
Yeah.
Dad always said that. He goes, just get as many feathers in your bow as possible.
Well, it's good on him. He didn't shit on the idea. Like, that would have stopped you from maybe trying it.
Everyone else did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like, it can come from them, though.
I remember we went on a boys' trip to see, it was a Swedish House Mafia down in Sydney.
Yeah.
And I had to duck away because I had a meeting with Vivs.
No way.
But then when like the parties happen, you get invites.
Yeah.
All of a sudden everyone's, that's pretty cool, mate. You get us an invite? And it's not like Brisbane has these outrageous model parties all the time, but it's different things. And you get like, if you do some shoots for a brand, they give you a discount or free haircuts and stuff on the Gold Coast. So
I think that's a funny analogy for anything in life though. Like at first you get shit on and then suddenly you have the connections and you have the things going your way and everyone wants to be a part of it because it's become something. It's like, how's Declan getting invited to that party? How's Declan hanging out with so-and-so? Hey, mate, you should invite me. I should come along. And how quickly it turns. And maybe that's why society, it's so hard to start something new because it really is. And maybe they're not against you and they're wanting to plot against you, but just hearing the words, we take it on so personally that it can affect our journey or if we decide to try something or not.
Yeah.
And it is a fear that's why most people don't try new things. But when someone makes it, they're like, we all knew you were going to make it, mate. We're always here supporting you. Always here supporting you.
No, it's interesting. But yeah, that's one thing. What's one thing no one knows about you?
I think the school one's probably like the bigger one. Like most people who've met me don't realize I dropped out at such an early age. Like, sorry, I didn't even finish year 10. I went into year 10 in 2010, but then I went on a holiday with my grandparents who just retired. So I didn't technically start year 10. So I'd only finished a year 9 education.
So Christmas holidays, year 9.
Yeah.
And you never went back for semester 1, day 1, year 10.
I rocked up after the holidays and then never showed up again.
On the first day you rocked up?
On the first day.
And then you never went back?
Never went back. So I'd had to play a lot of catch up with my learning. And there's always been a soft spot where when people find out, it's kind of like they're very inquisitive, maybe in like an encouraging way, but it's definitely left me with some feelings of like lack in education that I try to make up for, or I'm constantly aware of, like when writing an email or if I'm texting a client, not to leave it too casual, more professional the better. And sometimes it can be to my detriment because it's over the top. It's too clinical.
You know, like there's a lot of people can say overeducated characters around these days that know too much.
Yeah.
And that can be our shoe in.
I wish that was me.
Well, that's what I feel like it is for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I've never been to uni.
No.
I've been to uni.
Yeah.
To drop someone off.
Yeah.
I've never actually been in. So, and I never had any interest in it because I always just never counted myself good enough to go to uni.
Well, I think there's definitely a big shift. There is still the academics and they're obviously very important, but I think there is this huge shift where there was like a shame for maybe not finishing school, not going. And I'm not encouraging anyone to drop out. I put it way too hard on myself. I made it harder for myself than I had to.
This is our first podcast. We probably don't have any listeners shelling out advice.
If they are listening though, I'm talking to them directly. Yeah, I guess that's why we make a funny duo. Like you've had your life experiences, I've had mine, but we kind of appeal to two different groups, but the same in a way. Like I try to appeal to, I guess, the people that maybe have had it hard at the start where you kind of feel like you don't have a place, but then the more you go down that journey, you kind of realize that no one really knows what they're doing. So dropping out of school early, as much as it was like a kind of a stain on my name at the start and people would go, what's he going to do? What's he up to because he's dropped out? And then kind of coming full circle and realizing it doesn't defy you as long as you try to keep some consistent learning in your life. But I think that's quite hard to kind of stop the chatter in your head, if that makes sense. Like, why did I drop out? Am I different because I dropped out early? Has this affected me in a way that I won't be able to catch up on because your peers have finished school, gone to university, gotten a higher education, gotten a really good job? You're like, do they have something that I missed out on that I can never get back? In a way, you just have to play catch up.
Have you spoken to someone that has done all that?
Done what?
When you speak to someone who's educated, you can tell. They speak proper. They speak with full sentences.
Yeah, like
tell.
I think speaking well,
like the way we talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you talk to someone who's educated, you know they've had a good education.
For sure, but you can also meet very casual, smart people that you just can see they've got an amazing brain.
Yeah.
Because they can be working on so much at once, and they're having a very a casual conversation with you, but you're like, oh, this guy is 10 levels above me. And if he wanted to negotiate the fuck out of this deal, I'd be very at his mercy.
Yeah.
Because they understand like things on a very micro level where they can like dissect what it is you're doing, and you actually don't have a full understanding of the picture, so you can't negotiate because they just know so much more than you. And those characters are super interesting. And I think that's a natural ability plus a learned ability from school or whatever else.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And when it's, well, like, what about when you did leave school? Like, did you go to schoolies a few years later?
No, only to pick up my friends. I was working at the time. And
you couldn't get time off?
I could. I just didn't feel like I was entitled to go. Like that's how much like shame had come with leaving school. It's like I wasn't part of my group anymore. I actually kind of went on hiatus for 2 years, didn't speak to them anymore, and just kind of worked. And then come year 12, when everyone left school, I kind of reconnected with all my friends, and they were like a huge part of who I am now because they made me feel more normal. Whereas like leaving school felt like I'd abandoned everyone or abandoned the system, and kind of just went and did my own thing for a while. I even had teachers reach back out who were like concerned, and that was a huge like nice thing to do, if that makes sense.
I think teachers have a pivotal, like I always, anytime when I do good at something, it's always because someone told me I couldn't.
Yeah.
Like when I look back at all the times, that's the most pivotal things. Like I got told in school I'd just make dispans and never amount to anything. Yeah. That was his version of never amounting to anything. Well, actually,
that's why I dropped out. Was one of the teachers, I won't name her name, but one of the teachers told me, I'm going to make sure you don't get into the apprenticeship program. And that was kind of my only goal at that point in life because I didn't really care for school and I wasn't interested. So when she took away the one thing that I was there for, I was kind of like, what am I even doing here? Like I'm wasting my time. And looking back, I guess I don't think I would have made a different decision. I kind of had to.
Yeah, 100%. But then now it would not be, it totally worked out to be worthwhile.
For sure. I think
those, but one part of your life, mate, it really has, you've lost it, which you could improve. I think it might come down to those 3 years.
Yeah.
Fundamental dating skills in school.
Yeah.
You missed out on all those school dances.
I don't know if you're aware. I went to an all-boys school, so.
Yeah, so did I. But you go, like you can obviously meet up with chicks, you're texting them all the time, your groups meet up at movies. If you're just working all the time, that's a fundamental part of your life.
And maybe that's another point. Like I didn't really look at it like that, but for sure, I didn't go to any parties for school. I didn't go to any of the gym dances or anything like that. So I kind of missed out on that whole era. So then when I got out of school and all my friends kind of joined me after year 12, I had to play massive catch up. Like start dating after year 12, start making new friends, make girls friends. Like it was a whole experience in itself. So yeah, there was a whole fundamental thing that for most people in school would have felt normal that I've had in the back of my mind. Like, did I miss out on something?
Because you look at school and you look at the pressures of work.
Yeah.
They're polar opposites.
So different.
And like when I did my school, I only did 6 months of grade 12, 6 months of work, same in grade 11 and 12. Because you're 1 month at work, 1 month at school.
Yeah.
Because I did a school-based apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So that's where I got, I think, pretty level-headed pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because you can't hide.
No.
I had like 40-year-olds screaming at me and stuff.
Yeah. It's a weird experience. You don't really realise at the time how strange it is until you get out of it and you go, what was that place?
But I think it's definitely a worthwhile experience.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't change anything that's happened in my life.
Yeah. Do you want to call it a day?
Call it a day on that note.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. All two of you. Declan and Tom signing out. So that's podcast.
The Office guys coming soon.